Hello, good morning, students. Today we are going to read our next short story, A Rose for Emily. This short story was written by William Cuthbert Faulkner, and he was an American writer who was known mostly because of his novels and short stories. He was born on 25th September 1897 and he died on 6th July 1962. And most of his novels and short stories, they are set in a fictional country, a place that is called as Yokna Patawafa country. And this fictional country, this imaginary country was based on Lafayette country, Mississippi, where he was living for most of the life. And we can say that Faulkner was the most celebrated, the most acknowledged writer of American literature especially. And he has also won Nobel Prize for Literature in 1949. And two of his books have won Pulitzer Prize for fiction. And even in 1998, the Modern Library, it has published a list of 100 best English language novels of the 20th century, and his novel, which he has written in 1929, the name was The Sound and the Fury. This novel was sixth in this list, means 100 best novels of the 20th century, and his novel The Sound and the Fury, which he has written in 1921, was on the sixth place in this list. And he has written near about 13 novels and many short stories he has written. His first short story collection was named as These 13. Though this present story, A Rose for Emily, it was his first story which was published in a major magazine, The Forum. Though when it was first published, people haven't accepted it that much warmly. It was not considered as a good story. People doesn't pay much attention to it. But afterwards, after the revisions and the reissues, it gained popularity, and now right at the moment this poem is considered as one of his best poems, one of his best short story. If we talk about this short story, A Rose for Emily, in this short story, Faulkner presents a character named Emily. This character, Emily Grierson, she has been living all alone. Means the whole story was being spoken by the mouth of a narrator who might be some person who knows these many details about Emily. He might be a townsman. The themes or the storyline, if we say that the story or the plot of this story is not a linear one, the story moves back and forth again and again. It has that moment into the past and into the present. And when we read this story, then we will know this thing, we will understand this thing, that why this movement, why this strategy was being adopted by the writer. Because the story, or we can say the character of Emily, the way in which it is caricatured by the writer to understand that character, to understand that the things which has happening to her, or which has happened at the end of the story. We must understand that how the character of Emily was formed. What are the things, what are the circumstances, what are the situations which has formed the character of Emily in such a way. So let's begin with this story. We will read it, and then we will discuss it in our last video, that how and when the things have happened in these manners, and how this character, what we get from these various incidents, from these situations, about the character, about the uh, calamity, about the tragedy which has fallen to Miss Emily. The story begins again, as I have told you, that it has movements, backward and forward movements, and those are quite necessary, as we see that the story opens at the end, we can say, at the place where we have the information of the death of Miss Emily. The writer says that when Miss Emily Grierson died, our whole town went to her funeral. The very first line. That the poem is beginning with the death of the lead character, the main character about whom we are going to talk about in this story. The writer begins the story with the death of that person. And one more thing which we should notice in this line is what? That when Miss Emily Grierson died, our whole town went to her funeral. What does this mean? That our whole town went to her funeral. It means the person who has died, the person who has deceased, the person whose funeral has taken place must have been someone of great importance, must have been a great personality, must have been someone very celebrated, very famous, or very important in the town. That's why the whole town has attended her funeral. The very first thing which attracts our attention, which comes to our mind, is this, after reading this very first line, that when she died, the whole town attended her funeral. It means she must be someone very important, she must be someone very influential, she must be someone very rich. So now when we go through the poem, then we will come to know this thing, that why the whole town has attended her funeral. What was that thing which made the whole town to go to her funeral? The man, through a sort of respectful attention for a fallen monument, the women, mostly out of curiosity to see the inside of her house, which no one save an old man servant, a combined gardener and cook, had seen in at least 10 years. So, in the very next lines, the writer gives us the reason that why the whole town has went to her funeral, why they all have paid such a grand tribute to her, such homage to her. Why? The reason he gives, that the man, the old man of the town, why they went there? Why? To pay that respectful affection. They had a kind of affection towards that lady, towards Miss Emily. And what was that kind of affection? For a fallen monument. Now, see, there are two kind of things. There are monuments which we visit at times. Now, you might have heard the name of Taj Mahal. Now, we go there, people go there, they see it, they see the beauty of Taj Mahal, they praise the beauty of Taj Mahal, they admire the beauty of Taj Mahal. Now, that happens. But even you might have heard, you might have seen that people visit many such places which are not existing. Only the remains of those monuments, only the remains of those buildings, those forts, those mosques, those temples are there. Like you might have heard the name of Kuldhara. ना एक village है Kuldhara. It was known as the ghost village, and people, you know, hundreds, thousands of people visit that village every year. That means so these fallen monuments, they has their own charm, because now that monument has fallen. Now it has been deserted. Now it has lost its beauty, its charm. But still, once what it has been invites affection, invites attention. So that is the same thing with Miss Emily, that the man, they have gone to her funeral. Why? Just out of that affection, that respectful affection, not that loving affection. They had that respectful affection towards that fallen monument, towards that monument, towards that thing of beauty which has fallen now, which has, you can say, deceased now, which is no more now. The women, and the women folk, okay, it is quite obvious that if that woman is dead, so the men, obviously they have gone there to show their respectful affection, their love, their affection towards her. But why women? So the region, he says that the women, they went there mostly out of curiosity. They have a curiosity. They have that kind of feeling to know something about the inside of her house. And why about the inside of her house? What is special about the inside of her house is that which no one save an old man servant had seen in at least 10 years. Because the inside of her house, what is there inside her house, was not seen by anybody except an old man servant who used to be a combination of gardener and cook. Means Miss Emily had a single servant who used to do both the works, the work of a gardener and the work of a cook as well. Means he was the only servant in her household, and he was the only person who has access to enter into her house for last 10 years. And this thing has made the women of the town quite curious as to know what is there inside the house. It was a big squarish frame house that had once been white, decorated with cupolas and spires and scrolled balconies in the heavily lightsome style of the 70s, set on what had once been our most select street. So now, as he has told about the curiosity of the women to know that, to know and to see the inside of Miss Emily's house. So he gives us a description of the house of Emily. He says it was a big squarish frame house. Means the structure of the house was that of a square that had once been white. And once, when the house was new, or when the Griersons, the father or the family of Miss Emily was quite well to do or in a strong position, then it was white colored. Now it has become pale perhaps, and it was decorated with cupolas and spires and scrolled balconies. Means it has those domes, it has those balconies which are scrolled, means those lined, those designer balconies are there, and it was decorated in that heavily lightsome style of the 70s. And one more thing which is notable about this house was what? The house was beautiful, it was decorated in a very nice manner, it was colored white, and it was set in one of the most select street, in one of the most famous street, in one of the most rich state, in one of the most posh street of the town. But Garages and cotton gins had encroached and obliterated even the august names of that neighborhood. But now, though earlier this street was a very rich street, very rich people used to live, but now no more people live there. Now most of the houses or most of the streets, they are filled with garages and cotton gins. Cotton gins is that kind of factory, that kind of place where the cotton seeds are removed from the seed. Cotton and seed, they are being separated from each other. Now they have encroached and they have obliterated even the august name. August names means the most important names from that area in the neighborhood, means they have uh, fully spread in that area. Now only Miss Emily's house was left, lifting its stubborn and coquettish decay above the cotton wagons and the gasoline pumps, an eyesore among eyesores. And he says now all the other neighboring houses were vanquished, they were demolished, they were taken by the garages or the cotton gins. Only the one house, Miss Emily's house, it is still there, in standing there in middle of all these garages and cotton gins in a very stubborn manner, and even it is holding its decay in a very proud manner, like an eyesore among eyesores. Means many eyesores are there, many things are there which are not bright, which are not pleasant to the eye, and among them Miss Emily's house was also one, because now it is not that much beautiful, it doesn't look that attractive. And now Miss Emily had gone to join the representatives of those august names, where they lay in the cedar bemused cemetery among the ranked and anonymous graves of Union and Confederate soldiers who fell at the Battle of Jefferson. And he says now, as Miss Emily has also died and he has also gone there to the heavens to join those august names, those famous names of that area, of that locality, of that neighborhood, of that street, and she also lies there in the cemetery, in the churchyard, among those ranked means known, which are being ranked, which are being qualified graves, and anonymous graves of Union and Confederate soldiers who fell at the Battle of Jefferson. Again, this Battle of Jefferson was an imaginary battle which was being fought between the Union and the Confederate soldiers, between North and South. And the soldiers who died in that battle, Miss Emily's grave is also among those graves. And in those graves, some of the graves are named and some are anonymous. So this is what has happened now, that Miss Emily, who has been a very prominent personality of the town, or we can say that a very famous, a very celebrated personality of town, whom the whole town has paid tribute, now she has also gone and joined her forefathers. So this is it for the day. Thank you.